this video in pieces. It responds to Immanuel Kant. That's what channel you put it on anyway. Logic rolls the dice. Apparently he thinks logically. If something's in the title, that means that's what it's about. But that's not really what's happening here. Anyway, so, okay, blah, blah, blah. It's a 58-minute video, so yeah, I'll just do this in pieces as quickly as possible. I'll play it, and when I hit something that I've just got to say that's too stupid, yeah. Alright, look, so I've made this argument, this simple argument, that my consciousness isn't special, right? All consciousnesses are the same, and the argument is they're doing the same thing. I clearly know that my sensations are motherfucking important. And the argument is somebody else's sensations are equally motherfucking important for exactly the same reason mine are important to me, is because they suck. And they suck just as bad when they're in somebody else. That's the point. Not that I'm not special in some sort of, oh, I'm just as nothing as everybody else. That's not the argument. My argument is the something that I am, other people are the same something. And the only thing that's missing is that, yes, I don't feel their suffering, and I don't see the ought as easily, because it's them, not me. And that's a logical error. It's a logical error not to see their pain, and not to see the ought associated with it. If you don't see it, you've committed a logical error. That's the fucking point. And of course he missed it again.
There's no logical reason to think that your consciousness is special in any sort of objective, out beyond yourself sense.
Well, I don't even know what that means, out beyond yourself sense. No, the point of it, the argument is that the function is basically the same. All the fucking consciousnesses are doing it. And if I can recognize bad in myself, bad must also exist in others.
Obviously, subjects have interests in themselves.
Who cares? Not the subject.
If they have any interests at all, I think that's by definition part of.
Who cares if they have some God delusion? If they have some sort of sadomasochist, it doesn't matter what fucking idiotic delusions they have. That has nothing to do with the subject. The subject is if they have a fucking steel rod shoved through their brain, it's basically going to do the same fucking thing a steel rod's going to do when it goes through my fucking goddamn brain. That's the point.
Your self-interest, whatever you're interested in.
Yeah, who cares? Not the subject.
But whatever, right? I mean, it's... Yeah, there's no objective importance.
There we go. See, so what did it turn it into? Was I saying... When I was saying I'm not special, was I saying that means I'm unimportant, just like everybody else is unimportant? Or was I saying exactly the opposite? My sensations, I know them to be motherfucking important. I know it's goddamn important that I not be tortured. Motherfucking goddamn important. So fucking goddamn important that I will kill somebody to prevent being tortured. I will spend every penny I own to not be tortured. So fucking important it is. And that's the fucking point. Not that nothing's important, jackass, but that the same importance that exists when I'm being tortured is exactly the same event taking place when somebody else is being goddamn tortured, and it's just as fucking important. Motherfucking important. So again, miss the point, miss the subject, off altogether, because you can't paraphrase an argument correctly, you motherfucking retards. Let's see what else he's saying.
You're not special in the objective sense over someone else.
Yeah, well, over somebody else wasn't the subject. The subject is, let's not pretend there's no ought in the real world. The ought is obvious when it's me. You obey the oughts that are obvious when it's you. So let's not pretend the oughts don't exist when somebody else is doing exactly the same thing, which is having the bad sensation. The oughts are there. You just have to open your brain to see them. Yeah, they don't jab you with a stick, but they're there, motherfucker. Alright, I'll be back. Yeah, back. Yes, this is going to take forever. Yeah, sorry I can't hear again very well. But anyway, endeavor to persevere. Alright, so this part I'm just saying, I'm just making this simple argument of maybe before. And again, these people just aren't getting it, so I guess I have to use some other metaphor. My argument is that our intelligence is not owned by our psychology or our biology. This individual sentience is not me as an intelligence. The intelligence can know things that don't have anything to do with the interest of this personal body. So if I was to explain that, let's say we were more of a colony organism, and that my feet were just independent organisms, and that they had a welfare. So they were either going to feel good or they were going to feel bad. I can intellectually understand that even though they're my feet, they're connected to my body and the feelings will be here-ish. I know that those feet aren't any more important than any other feet in the world. And it just, the badness is in the feet being killed or the feet being harmed. There's the badness. The badness is not personal. Doesn't have personal expression. Doesn't have personal meaning. It's kind of the argument I've made about like children. The properties of a child is what is compelling, what needs to be cared for, its vulnerability. That's a property the child has. This whole my child, their child thing isn't logical. Yes, it's emotionally something we do, but it's not logical. It's not intelligent to believe your child is more important. It's not. And it's not logical for us to think the ought only applies to us, that our sensations are the only bad, that's really bad, and that the bad in somebody else isn't just as deserving of repair or correction. It's just as the need for correction is just as real in that circumstance as it is in the personal circumstance. That's the logical point. The logical point is there's no logical reason to treat same things different. And quite clearly, when it's happening to us personally, we react as if there's an ought. And my point is the ought still exists when it's happening to somebody else. It's the same ought. You just don't feel it. You have to understand it. So anyway, here's his reply to that. I shouldn't give it to somebody else, or that I ought to do it, because exactly the same thing will happen if I don't. Suffering.
There's no reason to give it to anyone else. No, there's not. Unless it's within your interests to give it to someone else.
Where's my interest? My interest? Again, we're talking about logic. We're talking about intelligent. And you're going to say something within my interest. And what do my personal interests have to do with right and wrong? They have nothing to do with it. Because the game we're playing, again, is the same. The other piece isn't an enemy. It isn't something that's justifiably considered something less. It's just as important that it be free of suffering as my brain be free of suffering. You're not going to gain by allowing other brains to be in the condition you won't allow your own to be in. There's no victory in that. It doesn't make any logical sense.
You know, the suffering will continue to exist, but why does that bother you? Why does that oblige you or give you any kind of
logical consistency? Again, if you can't logically identify why there's a difference. So I have two kids, all right, and let's say they're identical looking, and I switch them around, so I don't know which one came from where. One of them's mine and one of them's somebody else. And they just happen to be identical. You can't tell them apart. Do you see the point that the my part now is irrelevant? Once I take away this stupid cosmetic issue, that all of a sudden now when I can't tell them apart by some stupid superficial cosmetic reason, that I'm going to be perfectly aware of the fact that it really doesn't matter which one is mine anymore. I'm going to realize that the value is in the sentience, not in the value of its welfare, not in any of this other bullshit.
Why does that give you any kind of logical imperative, or why would it be?
The same imperative exists. I'm just saying again, you're sitting here saying, well, what do you mean? I don't feel their pain. Again, you're just making the same kind of idiotic argument. I don't see the ought. Yeah, well, you're not going to feel their pain. You're not going to see the ought. All right, in the same way as you do when you personally experience it. But the personal experience is real. It's a valid definition of the realness of the severity of the situation. So when it personally happens to you, you understand the severity. You understand the ought. And all I'm saying is if you apply logic, you know the ought really still exists because you understand the severity still exists when it's happening to somebody else. It's not less severe. It's not less real. So both the suffering and the ought still exist, but you have to see them with your mind, not with your sensations.
Logically inconsistent to treat others as inferior and of less importance to you. Now, it might be selfish, might be cruel.
I'm saying it's not logically defendable based on consistency. If you're not treating same things same, then you've misidentified them their sameness, or you're violating the definition of the rule. So I'm just saying, either you have to break language, or you have to, for the sake of consistency alone, concede there's a logical flaw. You can't treat same differently and not without explanation and say that's defendable logically. It's not.
But it's not illogical.
I'm sorry, it is. All right? Inconsistent treatment is illogical. Without good cause, it's illogical.
Nor is it logical. There's no such thing as a logical or an illogical action.
Well, I'm sorry. That's just enough. I don't even know what to do with that phrase. There's no such thing as a logical or illogical action. It's either consistent with fixing something or breaking something. Of course, these are definable and describable. If it's creating bad, then the logic is simply based on the premise that bad is bad. Duh.
It's just actions are just action. There's no obligation for your treatment to be consistent beyond how you treat yourself.
Oh, bullshit. You just made that up. What, consistency ends? You do it all. You play the game by any rules you wish to. You don't have to apply the same rules to the other things in the game. That's just a fundamental breaking of logical rules. To say that the universe changes. Okay, this is a closed universe now, and the same rules that apply out there don't apply here. That's just bullshit. What an evasion.
I mean, there's no such thing.
Yeah, claims you with what demonstrated by what? What? There's no such thing. There's no such thing as an obligation for you for there to be a consistency in application or definition. That you can still do logic as you change the description and definition of words as you're doing it. Don't treat same. Same isn't same. Same doesn't need to be treated the same. And that's logical. No, it isn't. That's the problem. That's the bad thing happening. Is the pain and the suffering.
to them.
Well, again, I've already disposed of this to them shit, okay? It just doesn't mean anything. Yes, the suffering happens in individuals. It just doesn't matter. It happens to everyone is an individual, and everyone is a to-theming. And the simple truth is, when it's happening to me, I'm perfectly aware of the fact that it matters. Not just to me, but that it's important, and it's important enough for me to spend real money on it, or to even kill people to prevent me from being tortured. I know how fucking important it is. So this bullshit that to them means I can just forget about it is absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. I mean, it's just, it doesn't mean anything. Everybody's a them. This just doesn't mean anything to them. So what? I'm a them to them. And what, I'm going to concede that because they can call me a them, that means I should think my suffering doesn't matter? That would be idiotic, especially when I'm personally experiencing it, and I know it matters. Them calling me a them makes my pain go away? I sure as fuck know that doesn't work. Why don't you sell this to them shit in a bottle, right? And may see if you can, maybe it's like the pet rock. You know, and you just take a I'm a them pill, and all of a sudden now my pain doesn't exist. So I have a headache, I want to get rid of it, take a I'm a them pill, and somehow my headache goes away. Doesn't mean anything. What a crock of shit. Well, anyway, I'm not going to get through this video doing this, so I'm going to have to play some of it and just paraphrase, I guess. But we see where it's already, like I said, this is not a counter-argument. Just more proclamations. I declare, I say, to them. There, we got rid of it. Doesn't exist now. Suffering doesn't exist as long as it exists in a them. Fuck you. Oh, didn't get very far. And the lies start, right? Okay, so he plays my clip where I actually say, you know, there's a logical obligation of consistency. So I actually got the part where I said logical obligation of consistency. And he just takes the consistency out of the equation and then just goes logical obligation, blah, blah, blah. It plays this little game and says you can't find it on Google or something. Well, I found 6,000 results, you know, related to the foundations of philosophy. You know, logical obligation is not, you know, that's just, it's an argument of consistency. Words don't mean anything. That's the logical obligation. If you change the meaning of the word, you've broken the logic. So the obligation is that the application of standards must be consistent. If you're not applying them consistently, you're not doing logic. And it wasn't that complicated a concept.
At least not within the context of ethics.
Well, again, and you're going to tell me what the context of ethics is anyway? This is just silly. I'm describing reality, shithead. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm attempting to describe reality, to conform, to construct sentences that are actually factually meaningful, not fucking mushy shit. So whatever your ethics are, if they're not a description of reality, then who the fuck cares, asswipe? If they don't have something to do with some kind of right or correct answer to the problem of what is the right thing to do, what is the correct behavior, if those aren't the questions you're answering, then who the fuck cares, you stupid fuck? You've broken the whole concept of ethics. Ethics doesn't mean anything if your goal isn't to maximize the efficiency or function of your behavior, douchebag.
Logical obligation.
Again, the phrase was of consistency. So I was clearly pointing out that if you're going to have inconsistent standards or you're going to break the definitions of words in your structure of your logic, same doesn't mean same, then yeah, you're not doing logic anymore.
Sorry. Fail. I've never heard of that, ever. That's...
Yeah, well, I don't even know why you would need to hear of it. Actually, I don't think I've ever heard about it. It just seems logical, anybody doing logic, to understand that there's rules of logic. When you break the rules, you've broken the logic. That's the obligation. There's a logical obligation. Every time you threaten the structure of logic to force a solution you want, yeah, you're violating the obligation.
Such a pile of shit, you just made that up.
Well, obviously I didn't just make it up. I mean, on the 2 words alone, there was 65 million results. And as a quoted phrase, there's 6,000 results. So I obviously didn't make it up, jackass.
The same thing. The same.
First of all, they're not the same.
Okay, they are. Okay, so look, can we be done with this stupid conversation? The argument is they're same in every possible way that could matter, in the sense that the engine that creates suffering is fundamentally the same. The sensations are fundamentally the same. There's no argument that every elephant, if you drive a nail into its foot, every single elephant has a completely different experience. No, it's all going to be pretty much the same fucking experience. We all have these common experiences, we have these common things that happen to us, and we have these common sensations, and that's the argument. It's not about everybody being the same in any absolute sense or in any other way. Those are all contextual arguments you can make on top of this foundational argument. Okay, if you have some argument that you're a cooler person for some jackass reason, go ahead and make that argument. But it has nothing to do with what's being argued here, which is the nature of sensation itself. The fucking sensations themselves are the same, asshole, fundamentally, essentially.
They're not, to use a fancy term for a moment, sorry, I'm sorry for being elitist, but I think that...
No, I'm sorry you're fucking so goddamn stupid. Alright, but this argument's already been made. That's already part of this premise of this whole fucking conversation, okay? Is that there's just this sense, right? I realize I'm conscious. I realize that my consciousness is not fucking exceptional. And that when other people get cancer, it sucks. When other people have a brick fall on their fucking head, it hurts. When other people, I got a scratched pupil today. When other people get their pupil scratched, it's inconvenient and uncomfortable. That's the premise, okay? It's not that fucking complicated. You can follow along, can't you? And no, it's not because you're an elitist that you can't follow along. It's because you're a fucking lying, manipulative little Weasley cunt who can't take any of this shit seriously. You little douchebag.
Done because it's important, right?
I know, it's obviously not important because you can't follow along, even though these arguments have been made over and over and over and over again. You just keep pretending they haven't.
They're not numerically identical. Now, what do these two things have in common, right? They're both controllers, right? So they both fall under the category of control.
This is idiotic, okay? I mean, again, I could go through every one of these fucking videos, and there was some point in the video where it was made clear that we're just talking about in a general sense, in terms of general functionality. A dishwasher is a dishwasher, it's a dishwasher is a dishwasher. And you're just playing a game now, saying that somehow that conversation hasn't already taken place. And it's already taken place, jackass.
So they possess an identical property of control on this.
Yeah, we're talking about mammalness here, okay? We're talking about having neurology that creates sensations that come in these two flavors of pleasurable, attractive, repulsive, unpleasant. That's what we're talking about, jackass.
Different controllers. They're both controllers, but...
Yeah, right. None of the videos for the last 5 weeks have we been talking about whether the guy has a prison record or whether it's a child molester. No, none of that conditional crap is being piled on. We're just going with the generic basic function that I make sensations, they make sensations. That's what we do. We have experiences. That my experiences aren't exceptional experiences. I'm not double conscious. I'm not any of that crap. They're conscious just like me. They have very rich and full experiences. That's the premise, fuckhead. And it's been made clear through all these videos. So you're just being a manipulative, propaganda, lying, scummy piece of shit to play this game like you don't know that already.
Not the same controller. My mind, your mind, you could say that they're the same in essence, in the sense...
Yeah, duh, you could do that, and we did that over and over and over again already, shithead.
Yes, the experience is negative, bad, repulsive.
Yes, that was the subject, shithead.
I'm okay with these words. You could say they're the same in that sense.
Yeah, that's the entire context of the argument, jackass. So that's exactly the only sense the fucking argument's been made in, is that sense. And it's been made exactly pointing out that we're not talking about any other context. We're not talking about who, why, what they personally want, what their ambitions are, any of this other little Weasley bullshit. We're just talking about the basic function.
They're not the same in that the experiences are in different points in space and time, and the influence...
Oh yeah, right, like it matters to you, right? Like it matters what point in time you went to the dentist. So if I add up all the times I went to the dentist, somehow it matters what time in space and time it was. No, the experiences was going to the dentist, some pain, blah, 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 all that shit. Okay, there was nothing. This doesn't mean anything to the experience, shithead.
The mind space that's over here.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with whether it's in a good state or a bad state. It has nothing to do with whether the dishes are coming out of the dishwasher clean or dirty. Has nothing to do with the basic idea of is the thing comfortable or is the thing uncomfortable? Is it in a good state? Is it in a bad state? That's what the subject is, shithead.
Okay. The fact that reason and logic can say, oh, it's the same, therefore I ought to... no, it doesn't count. You can't do that. It's a violation. You're not allowed to do that.
Says you, glib smiley face cunt. That's exactly what you're supposed to do, is to say, hey, guess what? When I'm having this sensation, the ought is quite obvious. Now wonder why. Oh, that's right, because the ought is tied to the sensation, okay? It's part of the intrinsic quality of the sensation. It's what a bad is. A bad can't be a bad unless it has that. And obviously when the bad's happening to somebody else, it's not happening to me. So I can only understand it by imagining it. That's the only way you can do it. You have to imagine it because you can't personally experience it. You can't Vulcan mind meld, motherfucker. That's why it was really interesting when Spock could Vulcan mind meld. It's because no one else could do that. Jackass!
Allowed to say that because they're the same, that they ought to get the same. Same are same. Okay, you can use the is. Okay, you can use the is, same as same. Okay, fine, same as same. Fairness is about treating same as same.
Logic is about recognizing that sameness isn't same if you don't treat them the same.
But when you try to say same ought get same, not from the is.
Well, I'm sorry. It's is from the is. The is that how come there's a distinction? They can't be the same if you treat them different. So you're saying the difference is me versus them. And I'm saying logically that's where the bell goes off and says, whoops, you made a mistake logically, okay? Because everything thinks they're more important. Everything is a selfish me. And everything has that bent in its perspective. And everything can understand that. That's one of these things we can do with our intelligence, is understand the bias built in. And just recognize it as a truth. Okay, when I actually have the sensation, the ought is obvious. So quite obviously, if I actually did feel somebody else's pain, then I would also feel the ought. I would understand it. I would see it. You have to have the bad to have the ought, and I'm just saying that smart people can understand that because they have to understand the bad because they can't experience somebody else's bad. If I watch somebody drowning, I can't experience their drowning. I might experience some other kind of bad sensation like pity or sorrow or fear, but I can't experience their drowning. You fucking idiot.
Not from the airs.
I can't do that. I say so. Twat says so. No logical argument. Absolutely nothing. He just makes a declarative statement. You can't do that. You can't use your intelligence to understand the difference between it happening to me and it happening to them. And the only difference is when it's happening to them, I don't feel it. So obviously, yes, it doesn't have any of the urgency or the immediacy that happens when I do feel it. And that's the only difference. And it's not a legitimate, real difference. It's only a difference in selfish perspective.
Can't do that.
If you're going to treat the same thing different, you have to have a reason to do that. And I'm saying the only reason is your selfish desire to be a cunt.
Fucking bullshit, you lying fucking scumbag. I did not say anything or imply anything like that.
Oh, please. It's exactly what you're saying. You just said it. You can't imply the ought. So even though you know the ought exists when it's happening to you, you know the ought is a real thing that reliably motivates you every motherfucking time. You never miss an opportunity to ought all over the goddamn place in your own defense. And that the only reason why you're not treating same, okay, is because you're not feeling their actual pain. But you know, if your brain can imagine, if I was feeling their pain, there would be an ought. So now I understand the ought still exists. Wherever the pain goes, the ought goes. The ought is connected to the bad. It's not connected to my perception. The ought is connected to the bad. So wherever the bad is, the ought is. Duh. Fucking dumb bastard.
You dumb cunt. God, you're so fucking stupid.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to live with this video for the rest of your life, asshole. Ha 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 ha. I mean, the irony of you calling somebody else stupid when you can't understand that you can't actually feel somebody else's pain. You can't understand that. Yeah, so live with this for the rest of your life, you little stupid twerp.
How many times do I have to explain this? I value fairness. Right?
Oh, who cares? Again, it's not the subject. It's a really simple question here, okay? If it's either same or it's not same. Either the properties that make a child valuable are either properties that the child has or the stupid projecting parent. You're saying the value is in the projecting parent's opinion, not in the fucking properties of the goddamn child. It doesn't fucking matter whether the child is your child or their child. It doesn't change the property of the child. And you don't change the properties of suffering by moving it from one person to another. It's the same fucking thing.
Okay, I have a goal to be fair.
Who cares when you don't even know what the word means, probably? So what the fuck's the point? Fair is a kind of complex thing to understand. I mean, it's a very nuanced in a world where we're not born equal. We're not born with the same genetic code. So the whole concept of fair is really difficult to even have a conversation about. But it's certainly, again, not one single part of this conversation for 5 weeks has anything to do with fairness. Fairness is not the subject of this conversation. The subject of this conversation is what is the absolute core, intrinsic quanta of value. And your idiotic opinion is there is no such thing. You fucking dumb cunt.
I think you should treat the same the same.
You should, except you can't because you have an is-ought gap. So again, this idiotic statement, I think you should treat the same the same, based on what? That's the same thing as saying you ought, right? You're making an ought statement. How can you do that without your is problem?
Because I value that, okay? But there's no logical obligation.
Well, again, so I just don't, I value it based on what then? If it's not logic that makes you value it, what is making you value it? Again, why would I care about a non-logical value or a non-rational value or a non-fact-based, evidence-based value? Why the fuck should I give a rat's ass about some shit you made up about what you think? If what you think isn't based on evidence and reason, why the fuck would I have any interest? I mean, where's the food value, shithead, in explain to me what your emotional disposition is? Isn't that just like telling me what kind of sexual positions you enjoy? Why the fuck should I give a damn?
Which is a fucking pile of shit that you made up and you goddamn well know it. To be consistent in your behaviour. No. Arguments and thought processes can be consistent or inconsistent. Things can be, like, we talk about in a list.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. I mean, this is just too simple. I mean, how you treat something, if it's inconsistent without reason, then it's illogical. If the claim is they're the same, you treat them differently, and there's no reason provided, then it's not logical. It's not logically consistent.
Fucking stupid figurative way of speaking. I was behaving inconsistently because I was changing my behaviour through the day, blah blah blah. Yeah, but that's just a pile of shit. When you're talking about logical consistency, it applies to arguments, fuckhead. It doesn't apply.
Yes, it does. It applies to the argument that defends the behavior, you jackass. That's the whole fucking point. The behavior, again, you can't get anything right, can you? I mean, quite obviously, the behavior itself overtly has no logical context. The context is in the justification for the behavior, jackass, and that's where the logic counts, is in the explanation of the behavior. Can the behavior be explained? And that's the whole point. If you don't have explanation for behavior, if you don't have some justifying excuse for the behavior, some justifying explanation for the methodology of the behavior, then you have nothing. And that's the whole point here. So you must have logic to defend when somebody asks you, there's two sames, you're treating them different. Why? Now you have to explain the difference in the treatment, because now your judgment is being questioned. Not your behavior, your judgment that made the behavior. Douchebag. We're not talking about, we're not behaving convulsively. We behave because we have an ideology or an understanding, and we behave consistent with that understanding. That's what's being challenged. The understanding.
Fucking decisions, you stupid cunt. Doesn't apply to how you treat others, you fucking...
Yeah, well, again, the rest of your life this video is going to be posted, fuckhead. And you're just demonstrating that you're making accusations about somebody else being wrong when you're fundamentally and catastrophically fucking wrong.
Moron. If you want to value fairness, then yes, treat the same in the sense that you're not being discriminatory. You're being equal.
No, the point is you're claiming that it's a truth that they're the same. That's already been established as one of the premises, jackass. And now you're treating the same different, and somebody's challenging your different treatment. And they're saying, what reason do you have for this difference? You can't call them the same and then treat them differently. You have to have an excuse to do that. Because they're not the same anymore. You get it? They can't be called the same if you're overtly treating them different.
Well, in your division of whatever, but to call that logical consistency, you're a fucking idiot.
And that's it. There's no other reasoning except I'm a selfish, egomaniacal, self-obsessed motherfucking cunt. That's your logical reason. And it's not a logical reason.
Okay, being selfish is neither logical or
in the context of this conversation where we just explained how they're the same in essence, then selfishness doesn't work. They're not the same anymore now. So again, you're still not getting it. You can't accept the premise of the fact that they're the same and then say, but this one's not like that one. This one's my selfish one. This one gets special ought treatment. Now they're not the same anymore, are they?
Illogical. Illogical. Okay. What's the opposite of being selfish? Selfless. Altruistic.
Who cares about the opposite? That wasn't the subject. The point, though, is to just pick out what is garbage. I don't care what's not garbage. Maybe everything is garbage. Okay, but what I know is garbage is selfishness is garbage in the context of same. So once you declare that they're the same, you can't say this is the selfishly protected one and this is the unselfishly protected one. Because now they're not the same anymore, shithead. Alright, I'm not going to do that endlessly. Alright, well, we got through 10 minutes of 60 minutes. So I guess this will be a 6-parter. Is that really? I just can't. This is a pathetic weasel. Like I said, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks into this conversation, the simple premise was, look, I arrive on Earth, I have sensations, I recognize them as decidedly, cavernously different, and that some of them absolutely suck and some of them don't absolutely suck. And then I realize, oh yeah, and the rest of these little things walking around are doing exactly the same thing I'm doing. They're having absolutely sucky feelings or absolutely not sucking feelings. There, is that too complicated? That's the subject, shithead. What's your refuting of that simple truth? That whatever's happening in this brain is not exceptional. It's happening in those other brains. I've identified good and bad as being created in this brain. Good and bad is being created in that brain. And I'm taking good and bad seriously. Bad has to be fixed. Good has to be fed. Period. Not complicated. Where's the logical flaw, shithead? That's the subject. And it's been repeated over and over and over again, and you aren't providing a counter-argument at all. Not any shred of indication of any evidence or reasoning why that simple interpretation that I have provided is sound based on the evidence and reason.